Welcome to the August board meeting. We have 4 people in attendance and fifth one on the phone. Brian's on the phone. Mrs. Armstrong and Mrs. Foray, or Mr. Foray, sorry. Mrs. Ravenfeld, they all had personal issues and were not able to make it tonight. But we do have a quorum, so we're good to roll. So there's 5 of us here, and we will conduct the meeting, so. And Samantha, sorry. Didn't mean to leave Samantha out. All right. If everybody could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the board met in executive session beforehand to discuss some personnel and legal issues. Secretary, correspondence.
Just the PSBA slate of candidates for the fall, which you can discuss amongst yourselves, and we will need to vote on. You will need to vote on them at the September 17th board meeting. So.
And that's for representatives to the PSBA meeting in October, correct? All right. We'll take that up in September. All right, what's going on over at the IU?
Not a lot since we've last met. We have a lot coming up, and we're gearing up for some new programming, some new marketplace offerings, but nothing as yet.
All right, thank you. And there's no legislative report since Mary's the legislative representative. Student councils will start next month. Other reports.
As discussed in the spring prior to our break over the summer, we discussed the Great Valley School Safety Committee. And as you can see on the attachment, the application for interested committee members is available. It will be posted online following this evening. It will also be sent home to all parents via our Skyward messaging system to look for representatives from each school. The committee will be chaired by Mr. Ken Stewart, and there will be a board presence on that committee as well. The purpose of the committee is to address school safety, current programs that are in place and current precautions that are in place, as well as vetting potential additions to our safety protocols. So more to come on the School Safety Committee, but that information will be shared beginning on the return to school.
All right, thank you. Any other reports from the board? All right. No school recognitions yet. Student representative, how was the summer? You're already senior year.
Yep.
The most important vote tonight you have to pay attention to, right?
Right.
Graduation date.
Right.
Officially approved tonight.
Exactly. There's not much to report from the summer from the high school. Preseason for the fall sports started last week, and the first football game is on Friday at Phoenixville. Freshman orientation is on Thursday, and we're looking forward to welcoming the new students. For student council, the first big event is going to be homecoming, and I'll keep you guys updated as we start planning as school starts.
All right, thank you, and welcome back. Kind of, I guess welcome officially now in your new role. All righty. Superintendent's update.
Yes, although school has not been in session, a lot of wonderful things have been happening over the summer. Our Extreme Band Camp, the summer camp opportunities kicked off with Extreme Band Camp, and that ran from June 18th through the 21st. For 4th through 6th grade students, the camp featured group, brass, woodwind, and percussion sectionals, and the full band. All extreme campers learned and played percussion, and students who didn't play an instrument learned guard work, including flags and rifles, and students had a lot of fun. Our technology camp was held for incoming fifth graders, and more than 70 students learned the basics of the iPad and more about some of the apps that they will be seeing in the classroom this year. In addition, 4 one-hour full steam ahead sessions were held for 40 incoming fifth and sixth grade students. The tech camp is supported by the Foundation at Great Valley. Again, great opportunity for students to get together and have a really good time while they're learning. Our ESL camp, which is our English as a second language, students were hard at work and having fun at the camp this summer with activities designed to strengthen and reinforce their skills. Students also participated in some tech sessions as part of the ESL camp to bridge some of the gaps in the learning. The camp went from July 2nd through July 26th. That is the extended school year camp, and it works with students who have individualized education plans, and they work on academic, social, and emotional behavioral goals. New this year was an implemented full-day program that included lunch. Approximately 120 of our Great Valley students participated. An update on the Great Valley Memorial. A memorial is being worked on to honor Great Valley graduates who lost their lives in service. The Great Valley Alumni Association, in partnership with the Foundation at Great Valley, they've teamed up to plan and install the memorial, and that will be located by the flagpole at the high school. The two groups have launched a fundraiser on the GoFundMe website to set up a memorial that will be placed, like I said, by the flagpole. The work to clear that area has already begun. The 4 Great Valley graduates who are being identified as first on the memorial lost their lives during the Vietnam War, and they've already been identified. Gary Jeffries, the class of 1965, Louis Valentine, the class of 1967, Nicholas Venditti, class of 1966, and Robert Nixon, the class of 1965. We, the Alumni Association, along with representatives from the Foundation at Great Valley, will work to make sure that we keep updating that memorial as we go. The Wall of Fame, please, if you have not nominated someone and you have someone in mind, now is the time. An outstanding Great Valley graduate. The nomination window closes on September 3rd. The announcement and the nominations will be awarded at homecoming, and it really is a wonderful event. If you have an opportunity to get to the high school and look at the past recipients, truly is an honor and a privilege to be a member of the Great Valley family. Upcoming events, August 23rd, the high school 9th grade orientation, which is coming up this week. August 27th, middle school 6th grade orientation. August 29th, Katie Markley kindergarten playdate, Katie Markley new family orientation, and General Wayne new parents orientation. August 30th, Charlestown new family orientation and Sugartown new family night. September 4th, big celebration. The first day of school, we have been waiting. A big thank you to Jim and his team. The schools are shining. Administrators are getting everything ready, and we cannot wait. September 5th, the Charlestown Welcome Back Ice Cream Social, and September 6th, middle school back to school night. Good things coming our way.
All right. Christmas in August. All right, the enrollment update is there, where we're preliminarily at, and I think it's falling pretty much where we thought it would after our realignment.
We're a little ahead of, it's actually a little ahead of our projections, but we'll see how it comes out by the end of it, in 2 weeks from tomorrow. So, yeah.
All right. Opening day.
Opening day for teachers, it's opening day actually for all staff, is Tuesday, August 28th. 7:30 to 8:30 is a light breakfast and the vendor display. 8:45 to 10 o'clock is the opening day remarks and introduction of new staff. Of course, the board is, as always, welcome to attend. We look forward to you joining us. And again, we are very excited to have our halls and schools filled with people. Can't wait.
All right. And support staff, perfect attendance. Chuck, you got?
You have the list of the support staff perfect attendance. One sadly missing name there from this year is Mrs. White, who we welcomed back to her first board meeting since March. I had to actually work for the last 3 months because she wasn't there. She came back to a very large, her substitute and I, we became pilots. We just piled it here and piled it there and waited for her to come back. So welcome back. Much more pleasant looking across the table than it was looking at Dr. O'Toole, but so, but thanks. But we have, I think it's nine of the maintenance staff on perfect attendance. That's up from before. That's great. 1 cafeteria and 6 of the office personnel. So thank you very much to all them.
Yes, and congratulations from the board, because I know that's very difficult thing to accomplish, so. And thank you for coming back, because I know Chuck was a mess. All right, before we get to the voting section of the meeting, I just wanted to provide a negotiations update with the contract negotiations with the teachers union. Negotiations began in January, continued through May, and both the school board and union have agreed to move to fact-finding because we have not reached an agreement. Fact-finding is a process in which a neutral third-party arbitrator appointed by the Pennsylvania Labor Relations Board analyzes the proposals from both the board and the union, along with the financial data and other information. Our official fact-finding date has been set for September 14th. This is a hearing. This hearing is not open to the public under state law. After the fact finder is appointed, which should be tomorrow, he will have 40 days to issue his official report, which is roughly October 1st at this point. This report is non-binding. Both sides have to vote to accept it or reject it within 10 days of it being issued. These reports often help school districts and unions to achieve or at least move closer to a settlement. We're hoping that will be the case in Great Valley. Under the law, just so everybody's clear, teachers cannot strike during the fact-finding process. This is really important. School will be starting on time. There will be no issues during that initial month of school. Our teachers' current contract expired on June 30th of 2018. They are still operating under the current contract. This is typically called status quo. One of the actions that is permitted before, during, and after the fact-finding process is known as work to rule. This is a legal work action sometimes taken by a union to protest the status of the current contract negotiation. What does work to rule mean? Essentially, teachers who choose to participate in this will not put any time beyond the mandatory hours in their contract and will not perform any duties outside the strict terms of their contract. Teachers are still obligated by contract to provide adequate help to students, and we fully expect that they will continue to do so. Our board very much values our teachers. They are the highest paid in Chester County, and their healthcare package is extremely generous, platinum level, the highest available. We compensate them very well, and we are very grateful for the hard work, expertise, dedication, and passion. At the same time, we must balance their compensation package with the other needs of the district. We must continue to fund high-quality, 21st century programs that a school district like Great Valley must have to remain competitive. We have to improve and expand our aging buildings, and we need to focus on security and safety. We must safeguard our class sizes and consider allocating funds for potentially down the road for a full-day kindergarten, and consider other comprehensive plans such as the K through 12 STEAM curriculum. There won't be any other statements probably until the fact-finding comes out, but that's the latest update. All right, so now we'll move to the voting section of the meeting. I'll open the microphone up for any public comment on any of the items up for voting, and then we'll go through them all. So please come to the podium, state your name and residency, and
Bill Dwyer, 10 Stewart Drive, East Whiteland. I've got some questions on things that you're going to be voting on tonight because there's no information on the website at all about these things, so I got some questions for you. Number one is professional services with Valbridge Property Associates or Advisors. There's no information on there. I'd like to know what that's all about. Secondly, there's a revised contract with Insight for personal care aides. Again, no information. And third, the GVCO, there's an extension of the settlement date. Seems to me that this was supposed to be closed in June. So I'd like to know what's involved and why. And the other thing, I'll just make a comment on this. There's a contract on there with a typing agent, and it's got one full line on it, and it gives you a full explanation of what the contract with typing agent is. So I don't understand why you can't do more on some of the other items too, as far as explanation. Thank you.
thank you. All right, seeing no other public comments, we'll now move to the financial approvals. Can we do these all in one, Chuck?
Can I
Consent agenda?
comment on some of the consent agenda ones?
Oh, I'm sorry, the consent agenda, sorry, I missed that. My thumb went too fast. Yes, we need a motion and then comments and questions. Yes. So do I have a motion for the consent agenda items 701 to 706?
Move to approve 701 to 706.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All right, now, any questions or discussions? And I think my first, go ahead with your question.
A few things. First, getting into the nitty-gritty on the student parent handbooks. In the 2018-2019 elementary school parent handbook, on page 8, it talks about the school day beginning for all elementary students at 8:50 a.m. That's not the case because we have AM and PM kindergarten, and I couldn't find any place in here where we lay out what the kindergarten times are. And it's a perennial question that people get confused about, so if there's any way to put it in the handbook, that would be great. My bigger issue, and I'm sorry for just bringing this today and not telling you in advance, my bigger issue is with the Great Valley High School handbook on page 48, the dress and grooming policy. It references updates that were done in August of 2002, but the policy has been revised since then, and this is antiquated. And I don't want it to be the wrong information that we're giving to parents again.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Board Secretary, how would you like to handle these revisions? Do we table this for next time or approve them with said revisions?
I can make the,
Given the handbook has to go out before you have another board meeting, I would suggest that the handbook be pulled out and just put down in program. I can drag it down to program for you, and that you approve it contingent upon the change, the superintendent making the changes for that. So I'm going to drag it right now. It won't show up there. It'll show up
That's
if
right.
you refresh.
And
But,
the dress code policy is now one page, and so it would be easy to cut and delete what's here and place the new one in. That was what I would recommend, but obviously, whatever you think.
We'll make sure we do that, as well as it is online and it's not provided in hard copy, so the changes will also be made online.
program approvals is now 11.03.
Gotcha. All right, so amendment to the motion will be, I guess I need a motion to amend the motion from the original motion, yes?
Okay.
To take out 704.
I make a motion to move 7.04 to 11.0.
That would be a motion to still approve 701.
Okay, move to approve 1101 as amended.
No, we have to finish the first motion of 701 to 706, so it would be motion to still approve 701 to
You already
706.
have that motion, just take
With
that
the
vote.
removal, you need to make the motion to remove 704 from that original motion.
Move to remove 7.04 from the motion to approve 7.01 to 7.06.
Right.
Second, if you need it.
All right. Now we got the motion right. So now the motion is to approve 701 through 706 without 704. Gotcha. Any other questions on these? All right, so all those in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
He's actually muted on his end. I
Yeah.
unmuted him for this, that's why you hear the hum.
Yep, no
So,
problem. All right, so motion passes 5-0. So before we get into all these financial approvals, can you run through them one by one and explain them to us?
Certainly, and just clarify what we started doing with the board back in the spring, or early spring. If you had a work session, these are for the board. So this is the first time the board's seeing these, which is why they weren't put in the public. We will go through everyone like we did last August with these. If we had a work session, we would then move them to public tomorrow or Wednesday or whenever Linda and Linnell get to them for the voting meeting. Because there's no work session, thus there's no meeting. This is a meeting of the board that is open to the public, not a public meeting where the public can come in but I understand that because we don't have a work session, that it's hard for so it's fine. Budget calendar is basically the same as last year, adjusted for the election cycle for Act 1. So no real big change in that, other than you will have to make a decision. If you look at the budget, you will have to make a decision in January whether you're going to go for referendum exceptions or not. And if you do, it changes the cycle. Regardless, June 3rd would be the meeting you do your final budget.
So unlike last year, we had to make that decision in December because of the bigger elections,
because of the
primary, right? So
Yeah, it
this year
depends
we
on
have-
when the primary falls,
Right.
and so many days ahead of the primary.
Gotcha.
Now, the following year, the presidential election year, it'll be even sooner because our primary is moved up. So when you do the 2021 budget, you and whoever you might want to do the 2021 budget, you'll have to do a lot earlier. Marketplace contract is the contract with the intermediate unit for services other than the services you already voted on. You'll note that we select on the entire contract in most categories what's called may participate. Doesn't mean we're going to participate, doesn't mean we're not participating, but it gives us the option. of using that program. There's various and sundry special ed programs that we may or may not be using right now, but we may or may not have a child identified that needs that kind of service, or someone moves in. We need to have the ability to be able to kind of act on it quickly and go. So this is very similar to what was done in the past. So I would just call your attention to that. We did an RFP for professional services for our copy center, our print copy center support staff. That's the copy center we have down here. You'll note the results of the RFP. We had 4 responders. The lowest responder was SOS. Second lowest was DocuCell. Third was a company called MCS, and fourth was Monarch Staffing. We are recommending DocuCell for this, even though they're not the lowest, because they have a little more experience with the copy center. They're the current staffing in there. They have a little more, they have a relationship with our copier company, which enables them to get a little more training on the copier. So we're recommending that they be awarded that bid.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's a general question. So sometimes we go out for an RFP, and sometimes we don't. Like Marketplace, we didn't. But what's the criteria for when we are supposed to do this and when we're not? Can you refresh my memory?
Well, we didn't have to do an RFP for this, but we felt it in our best interest to do this. Number one, we are awarding it to the same company that has it, but it also kind of keeps them a little more honest, so to speak. Sharpen their pencils a little more. Truly, on any professional services for things like this, we do not have to do an RFP. We could just award. We did an RFP for personal care aides. We did not have to do that. That's a big contract, but we wanted to see
So the law and the policies
the
don't
law and the
require.
policies say we could have picked them. And prior to awarding that PCA contract, before, we were just using one company. We picked another company, that's Insight, that's on the thing there, for a revision tonight. But yeah, so some of the companies that did not get the bid for personal care aides or special ed aides that we did before, personnel, Dan's department keeps on, because we need aides. So we need when we need a personal care aide, we need a personal care aide. So there's, in the contract, it says if they can't get one within so much time, Dan has the ability to go to the next person down. So that's why you have some other contracts with these other companies that did not get it, so we can kind of go to the well for them, because you can't have a student who needs a personal care aide or a special ed instructional aid go unfilled for some of the lengths of time we were going through before. So we have, Dan has 3 or 4 people, 3 or 4 companies other than that he utilizes to do those things.
And can I just jump in for 1 second? We also, if you remember, and I'm addressing my colleagues really more than anybody, but if you remember when we had discussed this before as to when to go for RFP and when not, the major advantage of us going for RFP is, instead of going out and calling a vendor to purchase something that is already established, when you do a request for proposal, the administrators then can find out exactly what we need from that personnel, and then the job is designed more or less not just generically, but based on what our needs are. And that's what we did with the aides. So us going out for aides actually gave us a product that was much more valuable for Joanna and that whole area. So that's the advantage. And I like the fact that we seem to be doing that more often than in the past, because then it's actually, we're getting more tailored to what we need rather than just what's available.
So we're going above and beyond, but when are we required? When we're doing like office supplies and equipment and
No.
material?
Well, at certain thresholds, we're required to do bids. At certain thresholds, we're required to do requests for proposals. There's number thresholds. Basically, anything over about $20,000, we have to put out on a bid. Normally, that's a construction project, prevailing wage, things like that. I will tell you that back in June, you awarded an RFP for cafeteria staffing. We were required to do that one so cafeteria could qualify for federal funding. That's the only reason. If we weren't doing federal funding, and we wouldn't have had to do it for cafeteria, but because it's a federal funding requirement for them to do that. So, yeah, I mean, it's in the best interest, and our our purchasing coordinator now, she does a real bang-up job generating these out and getting this. It's a little bit less cumbersome on our part to do this. So most of the RFPs have affirmed what we've thought, that we're basically doing most of the stuff with where we should be, and some we're done. So as we saw with the PCAs, we changed.
All right. Valbridge?
That was number
Valbridge?
3. Valbridge is they are the appraisal companies that do the appraisals for us on the district-initiated tax appeals. They also do them on the owner-initiated tax appeals that they will defend for us, any of the commercial appeals that happen that we have not initiated, that they have initiated, they will do that. So that is their proposal to do the appraisal services for the coming year. Under 8.05, you have 2 additional tax appeals that we have authorized the attorney to file on our behalf on August 1st per the board policy. They are both commercial. One is 605 Moorhall Road, and one is 660 Moorhall Road. 605 Moorhall Road, just so you know, that's like the new Wawa, Avola, Brennan Dane, and Fufu or Nof Nof Grill, whatever it's called. Nof Nof, yeah. Who's there? Wawa. Wawa. So 660 Moorhall Road, we added that one because it is actually a connecting parcel to one we already had on there for Lee Boulevard. It's a parking lot, so we needed to encompass the whole site to properly get that. So later on, down in 828, just information, you're not voting on that, is a list of the appeals filed. There are 16 properties there. I know I'm jumping around, but I'll stay on the appeal topic for now. Just so you know, I know there was some back and forth this summer in some of the social media sites about us going after residential appeals. Your threshold in board policy is it has to be a $10,000 difference in the actual revenue received for all the taxing authorities. Just to put that into context with you, a person would have to live in a house worth more than $1 million just to pay $10,000, and then you have to be $10,000 under what you're supposed to pay. So if you're in $1 million house that's worth $2 million, you're going to be on a potential list to be appealed. If you're on, most of these you're in a $6 million property, and it should be $7.5 million. Darn near 90% of our properties are under $1 million. So you're talking about a very small portion, and I would gather to say probably not many people that we interact with are on that list. I mean, it's still, it's still money. It's like the 06 is the we actually, in order to pay the aides that were moving from Crest to Insight, we had to give a small increase, Dan. 50 cents, 40 cents? Yeah.
I believe it was 24, 27 cents.
Okay, good. So, all in all, so the number goes to $25.68 an hour. We were paying 31 something an hour with Crest, so we are still paying substantially less. Now, the next one is Crest. That one is
Crest received the bid for the instructional
aids,
aids.
substitute, or special ed aids, yeah. So, that was to adjust their salaries up a little bit. SOS, who was one,
So we received contracts from these people in the spring, and since then, all of a sudden, they want more money, or?
No.
well, no, Insight, we actually wanted to try and make the aides, these are the,
So the way it works with personal care aides are assigned to individual children.
Right.
So it's written in their plan, into the child's individualized education plan, that they are identified in need of a personal care assistant. So when the transfer happened, when the RFP was awarded to Insight, Insight was not working with our district prior to that. So we have many PCAs in our district who also wanted to continue to be PCAs. In order for them to do that, they needed to transition from one company, Crass, to Insight. What we didn't want to do is have them lose an hourly rate by transitioning. So in order to keep their hourly rate what it would have been, to not have them lose, we are still paying approximately $5 to $10 less an hour, the district paying the company. However, the employee was not getting, the markup was greater with one company than the other. So we wanted to make sure we adjusted the hourly rate so they were not losing. So that's why in the language, and again, we vetted this with our solicitor to make sure that the language that they were requesting matched ours. Some of the small things, making sure we're not responsible if an employee, one of their employees, would work outside the legal law for healthcare and things like that. So that's the language, fine-tuning the language to make sure that the district is not in any way compromised. So these are the final contracts, and we wanted to make sure we got them before any employee starts working.
and it's a company that we also use for custodial subs and part-time. Was a very small adjustment to give them, to give the people that work for them what equates to about a 2% pay increase from, I think, $16.50 to $16.85, something like that. So we had a change order that we approved. We need you to ratify. It's for additional piping for the water line at the high school. There was some differences in the plans for the pipe, the fire hydrants and things like that. So you have the all that cost in there. All in all, it was about $25,000 for the change. The extension of the settlement date, the GVCO was scheduled to make settlement shortly after the board meeting in June. There's been some issues with the sewer authority giving them the final approvals for the hookup, so they can't go to settlement until they have that. And I will add, that's one of the key issues that really we kind of want, because it kind of enables us, if or when you ever need to do any development at that site, and as the enrollment numbers start to come true, you may or may not need it sooner than you think, but not that soon. But sometime down the road, the sewer hookup will be there and approved.
There, I know, because I ran into some of them the other day at the GVCO people, and they are very frustrated with the township and the sewer authority on this whole issue, because they're ready to settle. They've got the money, and it's kind of slowing them down on progressing towards a building, and they're very, very frustrated. But they think they've worked out the final nitty-gritty details of moving forward. But Keith also said, I've said that before too, so.
So having that hookup on the property actually makes our property more valuable, correct?
I mean, we would eventually have to go through the same approval process to get the hookup extended, about a couple hundred feet. But we're not having the extension of the hookup from down at Sweesford Road. Is that about where?
Well, the township's looking to actually run the sewer line all the way up Backton Hill,
That'd
all
be
the way
awesome.
up to the trailer park. So that's their latest thought process in this whole thing. So it benefits everybody along that whole road.
Yeah.
But again, it's in the thought process at this point, so they're slowly getting there, and I know they're very frustrated that they can't get this done, so.
Frontline Technology, that's our learning management and employee evaluation tool. So it's the annual agreement. Medical services, that's our doctor for the high school football and things like that. It used to be Dr. Burkhardt for many years, but you know, he's kind of given it up at this point.
That's required by law that we have this,
Yes.
correct? Also the same doctor that we have on staff for children who, don't we have a doctor and a dentist?
Yes.
Same,
yes.
this is the same,
Well, this is per event, this is,
but it's,
I'm
is it
sorry, yes.
same
Yes,
person
right.
though?
Could be,
Oh, okay, could be, but it may not be.
yes.
And if we have questions on any employees that we hire through their physicals, their pre-employment physicals, we've called our doctor in the past before, and there's a charge for that. Or we could actually send them to our doctor as a follow-up. We've done that, not a lot. I don't want to make it sound like we do it for everybody, but in the past, we've had, it's as needed. I'll have to have the superintendent explain that one. Okay.
This, I believe, is the agency that we use, the Health Advocate Solutions. I believe this is in partnership with, has something to do with covering our compensation for employee assistance, or Health Advocate Solutions.
Oh, that
Yes.
is, okay, so it took
So
over
we
for-
have an obligation as part of our employees, if they need additional support, we provide that support in with the connection. We don't get involved at all, it's completely confidential, but we pay this contract to allow that service to be available to our employees and their families.
Justicor is a nursing company that we use. Again, we don't do an RFP for this because there's only a few of these kind of companies around, and we do it. They do nursing for various and sundry things, substitute nurses, non-public nurse. If we can't get one to go on a field trip, we would get one from these guys.
I'm sorry, can we stop a second? I have a question on 13, the Health Advocate Solution. So that actually counts as part of the health care package?
It's actually a benefit that is provided as a public entity to employees. It's any employee in the district. If you have a need getting in the way of you doing your job, we would provide you with the opportunity to call in and get support. That can be based upon the employees, at the employee's discretion of need, or it can be directed by us. So, for example, if there's an issue getting in the way of someone being able to carry out their responsibilities, as part of our responsibility as the employer, we have to provide an opportunity for someone to get the help that they would need. So sometimes it's directed by the employer, sometimes it's at the discretion of the employee, but it's a service and it's a contract that we have. And Dan's office operates that, those referrals, provides the contact information, and then if it's directed by us, we actually initiate that contact.
So it's not, has nothing to do with the health care? It
No.
actually has to do with kind of insurance to ensure that you can do your job?
As an equal opportunity employer, we want to make sure that everyone has the health services that they need. And in these areas, it's not necessarily medical health. It's counseling, it's opportunities to work through plans. In some cases, it's for the family of the employee. And it's our obligation to provide that.
But they're aren't they generally a someone you call who kind of decides what you need and then refers you to somebody else who may fall under your healthcare plan. If it's like psychiatrist you think
It
you would
may.
need, or drug counseling, or whatever it might be, right? They're
Absolutely.
kind of a middle person that helps you get to a solution.
It can be that, or it can be the point of service with the company. So it
Gotcha.
all depends on the need of the employee. The next one is Brandywine Virtual Academy. These are our courses. Brandywine Virtual Academy is actually under the Chester County Intermediate Unit, and for students who access virtual online courses. This is the contract that we have, and we hold a certain number of spots. So for credit recovery, or in our Great Valley Virtual Academy, we provide them access to those courses. The private school agreements for extended school year for students with disabilities, those agreements are there, as well as private school agreements for during the school year services for 18-19. 8.18 is Lakeside Youth Services. This is an agreement that we have, an alternative educational placement as needed. So we have the relationship, the contract is in place. If Dr. Wexler's, under Dr. Wexler's purview, if we have a student who may be in need of those services, the fact that the contract is in place, it's a matter of making that referral, and then the student can receive the services that they need. Special education settlement agreements. The Office of Pupil Services has been working feverishly over the last few months to solidify those contracts, or those agreements, so students receive the services that they need and the district is in good stead. Memorandum of Understanding with Montgomery County Community College for dual enrollment opportunities, and those are there. Dr. O'Toole and Mrs. Beck have been working feverishly to create partnerships and have those agreements in place, so as the students access those courses and the teachers are already qualified and approved as adjunct faculty, that the students can receive the credit. Dual enrollment means they receive the credit that they need for high school to count toward their transcript, and the college credit that they would be able to carry with them post-secondary. Student Assistance Program, this is with Karen Treatment Centers, and again, this is an agreement that we put in place every year for students who may need treatment during the school year. So our social workers have access to those services on an as-needed basis. Partnering for Academic Excellence, this is the contract with Kathy Bailey, and this service, this has been in place for a number of years. We really are moving the needle a great bit in our administrative coaching of our teaching professionals, and much of that is attributed to Mrs. Beck's work and Dr. O'Toole's work with the partnership with Academic Excellence. So that the allotment is mostly covered through Title II funds, and we're working on, it's come down a lot because it's a great, Dr. O'Toole and Mrs. Beck have taken over many of those responsibilities, as have our building administrators. The training agreement with Charter Courses, this is for induction, literacy, and professional development, preschool and child development high school course for 3 days during the 18-19 school year. This is really to move our child development course and working with Mrs. Beck as she is finalizing curriculum. The goal is to make sure that our high school students taking child development are really getting training that they would need for post-secondary, and that those courses we're working on beefing those up to align to the requirements in child development centers. So exciting things happening. The contract with Typing Agent, this is a program to address keyboarding for all 5th grade students, and the verbiage there is quite clear. It's to access the adaptive keyboard program, and it's utilized with our iPads.
So it's teaching typing?
Yes, and
Vernacular?
accessing.
I mean, in a modern version?
Yes. It's the modernized
Yes.
type of teaching typing.
No more whiteout.
Right. The Seesaw contract, and you had this presentation done by the teachers, if you remember, in the spring of last year, It's the digital portfolio app allows students to create, reflect, share, and collaborate. This app is being used much more frequently in our classrooms, and it's available for our K-5. It's purchased for our K-5 classrooms. Participation in the cooperative purchasing agreement, and Chuck can speak most eloquently to that.
Yes, every year we need to just authorize us to utilize the purchasing consortiums, and they're all listed there. 5 intermediate unit consortiums, the state contract including co-stars and some of the national contracts, which we mostly would use, like PEPM, which is one of the computer bids, and KPN, and U.S. Communities. There's a few others on there too. So it's just an approval to allow us to be on there. We also have approval for the middle school to participate in the low ropes course with Stecker, high and low ropes course in October. I talked about the tax appeals filed. Another information item is the principal owner in Warwick sold her share or her ownership in Warwick to someone else, another company. The transfer letter is there. In talking with our lady's name is Patricia Rhoda. They will still go under Warwick and still honor our contract. We did a contract a year or 2 ago with them. Another one that we did not do an RFP, you do not have to do an RFP for. Very similar, no different, actually no different than PC8 RFP, because they're our kids in our schools. You know, sometimes it's hard to see them as our kids in our schools, but they are our students in our schools. So we hire them. That just kind of like we also negotiate the contract with Kraft. We do not have to do an RFP for Kraft, although back when we initially got Kraft 25 years ago, we did do an RFP to get them, but the subsequent contracts we just negotiated. And the last thing are the Finance Committee dates, the first one being October 1st.
All right.
Thank you for that, by the way.
I'm sorry, some of the ones, I couldn't actually see the attachment for one. I'm still struggling with it.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve 801 through 830?
Move to approve 801 through 8.30.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any other questions or comments around these? Other than thank you for a very thorough work session in 15, 20 minutes. All right, all those in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, motion passes 5-0. Personnel items, any of these you want to highlight or bring over, or just, I know there's a lot of changes here, so.
There are a number of hirings. There are also some resignations that are new. We are certainly, Dr. Gaffredo's office is also working feverishly to fill positions. It's an exciting, as Dr. Gaffredo shared with me, I believe it was last week, he is very, very excited. I believe the term was, he is getting goosebumps for how excited he is about this hiring season. And I can tell you the feedback I've received up to this point today. Mrs. Beck held the first of the new teacher induction, and it truly was exciting to see new faces joining our Great Valley family, and those who have chosen to take positions in other places or have retired, we will miss them. I believe Matt Saraceni made the comment to students, although other people will be sitting in your seats, no one can take your place, and that's pretty much how we feel about those that are leaving, and we're excited for those that are joining. So the list is quite lengthy, and hiring is not completed. So it will go on as we finalize the positions.
And just to make sure we're all on the same page, all of these positions are budgeted positions. So the French teachers who left are being replaced.
Yes.
The band teacher who left has is being replaced here, et cetera. And-
Absolutely.
Right. So-
And we are on target. If you remember, during the budgeting process, there were positions approved, but we also had committed to having our total N of professional staff less this year than it was last year, as has been our commitment, and we do plan on honoring that commitment. I do not have that report for you at this point, as everything has not been finalized, but once the day 3 enrollments are more finalized, we'll have more of a number for you and give you the update in September. But we are well on track to meet that directive.
All right, so do I have a motion for approval of 9.01?
Move to approve 9.01.
A second?
Second.
Any questions? All right, all those in favor? Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, thank you. All right. Nothing under policy this month, more policy changes, I'm sure, next month.
So if you would just say the dates are there.
The dates, yeah, sorry, the dates are also listed on the, I'm gonna look them up, for the committee, policy committee meeting. So next one will be September 11th. All right, program approvals, the most important vote for Millie tonight. Graduation date approval. Graduation will be on Friday, June 14th. Do I have a motion to approve programs 1101 through 11.04?
Move to approve
Point
11.01.
of order, can you just do 1101 to 1102, and then 1103, you need to add.
Oh, the amendment.
Phrase.
Yes.
Move to approve 11.01 and 11.02.
Second?
Second.
Any questions?
I'd just like to give an up. There are adjustments to the school calendar. The first adjustment, and I want to thank the high school administrative team for thinking ahead, just to give notification to parents and high school students. This year, AP testing and Keystone testing kicks off the same week. So in order to facilitate the opportunity for students to really have a quiet and focused testing environment, school on those days will operate on a 2-hour delay. So that will be posted on the calendar so that parents and students can plan. That is in May. Yes, for the people not taking the test, they will come delayed. That way, those that are not testing will not be at the high school, and those that are testing, which is a large number of students testing between AP testing and Keystone testing, many of the students will be involved in testing. So it will allow that focused attention. The other adjustment to the calendar, if you look at the bottom of the calendar, which is the adjustment, in Pennsylvania, the Department of Education has an allowance which is referred to as Act 80. Act 80 allows school districts to utilize days as student days that are for specific purposes. Some of those purposes are professional development, parent-teacher conferences, if we did some kind of kindergarten orientation or strategic planning. Those are allowed to be identified as Act 80 days. They must be pre-approved on a calendar and submitted to the Department of Education as your approved school calendar. They are added at the bottom of the school calendar, and if approved tonight, it will be uploaded onto our website as well as submitted to PDE. Days that are identified are professional development days and/or conference days, which are allowable under Act 80. What that allows us to do is, if necessary, many other school districts utilize this, this approach, that if necessary, we can use these as snow makeup days so that parents can think proactively ahead. Again, it's trying to give a little bit of pre-planning and a knowledge. So if someone wants to plan their vacation, not knowing how many snow days we're going to have this year, we will have built-in days. So the first snow makeup day on the calendar is listed as February 15th, and that is the only one that is identified. What we will do is utilize those Act 80 days to allow for student makeup days. So the last student day would remain June 14th.
So can we change the little box at top?
Absolutely. Yes, we will change that box once this is approved for snow makeup days. And understanding then that if we utilize the Act 80 days, so if we go beyond the Act 80 days we have listed here, that will then add to the end of the school year. But at least having more than one built-in snow day will give a little bit more planning time for parents. So we would end up, in order to utilize June 17th as a snow makeup day, we would have to have 8 snow days, because February 15th is one of those that are considered. So we would have to be out of school for 8 days in order to kick into the June 17th day.
So to clarify, the benefit to using the Act 81, or the Act 80 days is so that in the event that we do have snow days, we are making them up without expanding the date at the end of the year.
Absolutely. It's doing a cost benefit to building in during the school year as best we can, rather than sometimes the benefit of adding days after graduation, most specifically, is not as beneficial to students for high instructional yield. So it's to build in as much as we can during the school year. Now, this only applies to student days. It does not apply to the contractual obligation of professional staff. Those days are independent of Act 80. These are specifically student days.
And so I think what you're saying is these changes would give parents more certainty around what their schedule is going to look like
Yes.
this school year.
Now, again, if we have more than 7 snow days, we would then be into the following week of June. But it would give us some flexibility. So it's really trying to be as transparent as we can to allow people to plan in advance as much as possible.
And planning in general, just to tie this together, we will at some point have a committee to discuss the calendar.
Yes. At the direction of the board in January of 18, we had a conversation about calendar. Much time and attention was put into gathering feedback. We used a survey, used parent key communicators, had a number of offline conversations to gather direction as far as the calendar is concerned. And the recommendation at that point was that we put together a committee for calendar. That committee will be representative of a board representative as well as key communicators within the school district and teacher representatives. So we will have that committee going parallel with our safety committee, so both committees will be up and running no later than the end of September.
One more question for you. I think we all agree that in-services are very important for teachers. Can you explain at a very simple level, so I can get it? If we do have snow days on any of these days, which are the Act 80 days, what happens to that in-service, and how many days per year teachers are required to work, or will those days be forgiven?
As Act 80 deals with student days, it does not in any way impact the requirement in, for example, the GVEA collective bargaining agreement is 190 days. So that is independent of student days or in-service days. So for snow days, we will make up that time. One instrument that we use, or one process that we've used this past year, is allowing multiple opportunities for in-services to take place. We've created a teachers teaching teachers, or a flex day opportunity where teachers have also provided professional development as well as received professional development. That has been extremely powerful, and I thank Dr. O'Toole and his team for really facilitating really powerful opportunities for teachers to learn from one another, as well as take advantage of the opportunities throughout the district and beyond. So those opportunities will allow us, and having this flexibility in our calendar, bless you, will also allow us to utilize that flex day option, flex day opportunity throughout the school year. So we're not just targeting specific days to learn, that we truly are a community of learners learning all the time in multiple different places. So thank you for that question, staff.
And we're not the only school district to use Act 80 days in the area,
At all.
right? And we have, in the past, even in Great Valley, had Act 80 days on our calendar, so it's not like we're just pulling this out of thin air. It's from some obscure law that we found.
This is a common practice, and to my knowledge, more than 80% of school districts across the Commonwealth utilize Act
Excellent.
80 days. It's very purposefully in law because it's powerful for students and families, and it's trying to be as planful as we can.
One more question, because I've gotten a question from a constituent. Is there any case in which any days of spring break, which right now are April 15th through the 19th, would be taken back or affected?
Absolutely not. The board, when they approve the calendar, they have designated those days, and on the calendar it is listed as local holidays. You voted on that, which means those cannot be touched. They're like federal holidays for the Postal Service. So those days will not be impacted for any reason.
All right, perfect. Any more questions around this? All right, all those in favor of motion to approve 1101 and 1102? Brian?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. All right, do I have a motion to approve 11.03 with the agreed upon changes mentioned earlier in the board discussion?
Move to approve 11.03 in accordance with the changes.
Second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments? Any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Oh, motion passes 5-0. All right, 1104 is just for information.
Just as a reminder, okay?
Nope, go ahead. No, it's, yeah, the Instructional Technology Committee will meet 5 to 6 p.m. on Mondays before the work sessions each month. We had tried to meet on Tuesday, and that didn't work real well for 2 out of the 3 board members on the committee, including myself. So we're going to try doing it prior to work sessions here at district office. So the next meeting will be at 5 o'clock on September 17th. All right. All right, under facilities, we have approval of transportation agreement.
It's just the bus driver list.
It's approval of the bus driver list, sorry.
Move to approve 12.01.
Second,
Second?
any questions? This is just a list of all the names of the approved drivers submitted by them.
As required by law, by the school.
Gotcha.
PD.
All right. All those in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Also a reminder that the facilities meetings are, the next facility meeting is September 11th at 6 p.m. here at district office. And all the rest for the remaining of the year are listed. All righty. That concludes the voting section of the meeting. If anybody in the public wants to come to the podium and speak on any other issues, they're welcome to. I just want to make sure.
I could get up.
Yes, you have the right. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Any other board comments?
I would just like to say, I'm so thrilled that everybody seems to be so excited to be starting another school year. I know that, the kids hate to go back to school. When I was a parent, I hated my kids to go back to school because I really thought I had more control when I had them instead of when they had all that other influence. But it is so exciting for me as a board member to see the excitement, the glee. Everybody I've seen over the last 2 days is really excited. We've got some great things going on and more great things coming, and I'm extremely grateful that we are. So God bless Great Valley, and I'm looking forward to another bang-up year for all our kids.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Brian?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Good night, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.